stories of the infancy and childhood of Jesus in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke are not mere once-upon-a-time tales. The evangelists expected those stories to tell something essential about life and faith. The stories said something important 20 centuries ago, and they still do. So, what does the presentation of the infant Jesus in the Jerusalem temple tell us today? The basic message is a call to a sort of atheism. Luke is showing us that Christians must not believe in any sort of God the rest of the world believes. In fact, real Christianity does not believe in the sort of God some unreflective Christians seem to believe in. We like our gods to be powerful. Perhaps we feel that if our deity is powerful, then we might share some of that power. Well, sometimes we actually call those powerful deities God. More often than not, we don't use that name. But from the way we treat them, the amount of time we spend on them, the mental and emotional energy we devote to them, and the ways in which we shape our ideas and actions around them, show them to be our gods, no matter what we call them. For some people, their God may take the form of money, or a nation, or an economic system, or social achievement, or race, or religion, or family. For some people who consider themselves good Catholics, it may be a particular form of piety or church structure. In all these cases, devotees hope to gain special advantages by their devotion. And the message of the Gospel in Luke's account of the presentation of Jesus in the temple is, become an atheist. Renounce your false gods and believe in the one true God revealed in Jesus. The prophet Malachi says, and suddenly there will come to the temple the Lord whom you seek. The temple is the place where people expect to meet God. Malachi goes on to say that the Lord's coming will be like a refiner's fire, powerful and painful. The responsorial psalm speaks of the entry of the Lord who is strong and mighty, the Lord mighty in battle. But Luke tells us that when the Lord actually does appear in the temple, it is as a powerless baby, and poor. Though it was not in fact a requirement for Mary and Joseph to present the child in the temple, for those who chose to do so, the usual offering was a lamb and a dove. Families who could not afford a lamb offered a pair of doves instead, as did the parents of Jesus. So, the Lord comes to the temple poor, powerless, and human. That's not how we expect our gods to be. It takes a special kind of insight to see God present in a poor baby, or in a grown man hanging on a cross. Simeon had that kind of wisdom. His prayer, which is used every evening as part of the church's night prayer, and which is worth memorizing for our personal nightly use, praises God because his eyes have seen God's saving presence. In a crowd of people, many of them carrying babies, Simeon could recognize God hidden in a baby blanket. How could he do that? Luke describes Simeon as a man who was righteous and devout, awaiting the consolation of Israel. In other words, Simeon really believed that God would act to bring consolation to the world's pain, and that in order to recognize that action, one must be attuned to recognize it by a life of service and prayer. In his praise, Simeon proclaims the meaning of the new thing God is doing, salvation prepared in the sight of all the peoples, a light for revelation to the Gentiles. The coming of Jesus to the Jewish temple is the beginning of a new age. From now on, all peoples can see more clearly than ever before that God's love is meant for all the world. We must be imitators of Simeon, recognizing the Lord at work in the world in places and ways that others might miss. In order to do that, we must, like Simeon in the temple, Be where the Lord is likely to make his presence known. As in the temple, that presence will be known in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. When we are attentive there, we will see the coming of the Lord, not in power, but in weakness, poverty, and love. And then, like Simeon and Anna, we must proclaim what we have seen.